your perception.
And I know what
And there's a magic.
I'm actually
in that single sound.
We are what we are today.
That's the problem with that.
We do have issues arising out of the
Return for this new century.
Welcome to Talk Asia. I'm Lorraine Hahn. This week, a Malaysian lawyer who's not exactly known for taking the easy cases. Karpal Singh may be best known as one of the leading counsel of Malaysia's ex-Deputy Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. During that defense, he fought off government charges of sedition that raised questions about what a lawyer can and cannot say in defense of a client. Prior to that, he was jailed twice without trial under Malaysia's Internal Security Act. His first high-profile case was defending two Australians who were ultimately hanged on a drugs conviction. And most recently, Singapore denied him a work visa to defend 4 Muslim girls who aren't being permitted to wear Islamic headscarves to school. Singapore accuses him of meddling in domestic politics. He's definitely engaged in Malaysian politics. He's deputy chairman of the opposition Democratic Action Party and held a seat in parliament for 5 terms. Well, whatever your opinion of Karpal Singh may be, you've got to credit him with his perseverance to fight decades of uphill battles. Karpal Singh is here with me now to discuss just what keeps him in the ring. Mr. Singh, welcome to Talk Asia. Thank you so much
for inviting me.
Let me first talk to you about this Tudong case in Singapore with the 4 Muslim girls not being allowed to wear the Islamic headscarves. I mean, what made you take on a case like that? I mean, it's not only the dress code issue, right?
It's a matter of principle. I strongly felt that what was being done, the directive issued by the Education Ministry of Singapore was unconstitutional, apart from being discriminatory. Sikh schoolboys are allowed to put on their turban, and I can't see why there should be any discrimination as far as these girls were concerned.
Now, you're obviously busy enough in Malaysia doing your own work. I mean, the Singapore government has accused you of meddling in Singapore politics.
Far from it. I have not meddled in Singapore politics. In fact, I was from the University of Singapore. I studied there. In fact, obtained my legal qualification from there. And I've been called to the Singapore bar since 1981. And I can't see how the Singapore government could have accused me of meddling in the internal affairs. It was a legal issue, a constitutional issue, which if I don't take it on, someone else would.
Mr. Singh, now what drives you as a lawyer? Is it the ideal, the legal issue, or is it the person that comes knocking at your door, your office door, saying, I really need your help?
There are so many facets to it. One, I think, my own conviction. And, of course, then again, when it comes to people's problems, how to address them. And as a lawyer, I get, all sorts of problems, including, defending people on capital charges and so forth.
And in a lot of these cases, you don't take money for it. I mean, you've got to live, too. You've, 6 people to feed in your family?
7, including my wife. Yes, but I think these are things which got to be taken in the stride. And, I'm not really sort of starving, so to speak. Yes.
How did you get connected with, as I mentioned, the more recent cases, high-profile cases, and that is with Dato' Anwar Ibrahim? Did you know him personally, or how were you approached to be one of his legal counsels?
Actually, we were political opponents. He was in government, I was in the opposition. And in parliament, we had our sort of fights. But when it came to his having been charged, in fact, he called for me. I met up with him, and it came about that I ought to defend him, which I did. Right up to now, although I got into trouble myself in doing so.
What did the case mean to you, though, personally? Was it very personal for you? That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I took it objectively, actually. It was a challenge. I think the man had been unfairly tried in the High Court. I took it on only at the appellate stage. And I think there were 2 charges, actually. The second trial is still underway. Now, in my own view, I think he did not get a fair trial. And this has been the opinion of so many foreign governments, including the U.S. and the European Union. That man did not get a fair trial.
Did you have any doubts as to the obvious outcome, or the outcome that we all know about?
Well, as I said earlier, he did not get a fair trial at the hands of the trial judge. In fact, the federal court had, in a related application, rather an appeal, where the same judge, in the course of the proceedings, had sentenced one of the counsel to imprisonment for contempt of court. And the federal court, in its allowing the appeal, said that the trial judge had acted more as a defense counsel for the prosecutors than as a judge.
Yeah, it was definitely a very, very controversial case. Yeah. Have you seen Anwar Ibrahim recently?
Oh yes, I have. In fact, I make it a point whenever I'm in prison. I'm in prison rather, to see him. Although I've been in prison myself, that's why I sort of just about said whenever I'm in prison.
Whenever you're in prison. You were detained under the ISA.
Yes, way back in 1987. To this day, I've not been able to understand as to why I was, in fact, incarcerated for 15 months.
Dr. Mahathir Mohamad put you in?
Yes, he did. He was Home Minister then. But then, 14 years after that event, in fact, last year the court ruled that my detention was unconstitutional and has ordered that the government may pay me damages.
Have they?
They haven't yet, but they're negotiating.
How did that ISA detention affect you and your family?
To a great extent. In fact, at that point of time, my children were very young. In fact, one of the reasons why practically all of them have taken up law is perhaps the situation I was in. And I made it clear to them that they ought to go. In fact, at that time, the eldest boy was reluctant to go away. I was in prison, under detention. In fact, I had to coax him and say, look here, you know, I'm already in, you better go. Do something about it, which he did. And the others followed, including my daughter.
How did you keep sane during those times?
Well, I made up my mind. One, I was unfairly detained. There was no reason for it. And I made up my mind to fight my own case, which I did, in fact. In fact, I was released by the High Court. On my way back home, 9 hours later, I was rearrested on the orders of Dr. Mahathir. But as I said earlier, 14 years after that event, justice has been done.
Right. Mr. Singh, I would like to talk a bit more about how it all started for you when we come back right after this break. Stick around. Talk Asia. We'll be right back with Karpal Singh.
Your life is a story.
This is Talk Asia. He's a Malaysian opposition politician and he's Anwar Ibrahim's lawyer. He's well known in Malaysia and beyond for defending the underdog. Karpal Singh, tell me, is it true you have a plaque given to you by a former client which says, or which reads, noble and able defender of the defenseless?
Oh yeah, there is one, and I put it right on the wall in my office. It was given by a grateful client.
Does that aptly describe the person you are?
It's a fantastic gesture, and I think it was very sincerely sort of done and presented to me.
You watch it, you look at it, you reflect on it?
Oh yes, and I get inspired by it.
You read it every day?
Most of the time. When I go out and I come in.
Interesting. Let's backtrack a bit. We were talking before the break about your detention for 2 years under the Internal Security Act.
It wasn't for 2 years, actually. It was meant to have been for 2 years and thereafter indefinitely ad infinitum. It actually lasted 15 months.
15 months, okay. Dr. Mahathir, at that time, put you in there.
Of course, he was Home Minister then.
You
he exercised his powers to do it.
But when you first joined the Democratic Action Party, he was in your constituent, right?
Well, when I joined, it was in 1970, and Dr. Mahathir had lost his seat in 1969 and expelled from his own party, UMNO. And I, in 1974, was elected a state assemblyman in the constituency in which he had his clinic.
Interesting.
He was a doctor, a practicing one.
Mr. Singh, let me talk to you about your political career. I understand, or I heard that you're going back into politics. Is that correct?
No, I have been in politics all the while.
What about
in
your
fact,
seat?
I lost my seat in 1999.
Will you run
and
again?
I hope to, of course, I will, certainly. And I'll get back to the same seat and hope to get back to Parliament from that seat. I was there for 5 terms.
Yes, I know.
For a long time.
When do you foresee this happening?
Well, we expect an early election, perhaps in April next year. And by my beard, I hope to go in again.
What drove you? What attracted you into politics in the first place?
Well, as a lawyer, I think it's natural for one to be inclined, being a lawyer, towards politics. I was in the University of Singapore, and after I left Singapore for my country, I felt that I should get into politics, and I think that's the right choice I made. I don't regret it.
Is it true that the race riots in, what, 1969?
Yes, that was in May, on rather May 13, 1969. Very unfortunate incident.
Is it true that also encouraged you to stay in politics?
In fact, I started in politics because of that, and I felt after May 69, the riots and what unfortunately happened, that what the country needed, and I thought I could contribute towards it to some extent, would be a united society, which meant, getting a multiracial party to be in power. And the best choice at that point of time, and still is, the Democratic Action Party, which I joined in 1970.
What is it for you, though? I mean, what were those days like when you were obviously a new lawyer?
Oh, yes, of course. I started off, as I said, in a small town in 1969 itself, on the 15th of January. And I had occasion then to sort of test certain issues involving the Constitution, human rights, and so forth, which I would not have had the opportunity to do so in a bigger town, which I had in this town. And it is the capital of Kedah, from where Dr. Mahathir comes from. And those were the opportunities I had to sort of project myself onto the national and thereafter to the international scene, politically and also legally.
I mean, it seems so different, one a lawyer, one a politician.
It's not easy. These are two vocations, which are irreconcilable, but I have been able to reconcile the irreconcilable some or other. And I do not ask questions as to how I did it.
I was just going to ask you.
Yes, yeah.
What do you think made it jive? What do you think made it work?
Well, support from my wife in particular. I think she has been a source of support, strength, which I needed all this while. And I think I must thank her for what I am today, what my children are, today. And
she must have put up with a lot.
She did. She must have.
There's a husband who went to jail.
That's right.
Who's always in trouble with the law, and he's a lawyer.
Yeah. There's nothing like getting into trouble for the right reason and getting out of it.
How did you meet?
My wife?
Yes.
Well, I met her in a library. She's in fact 8 years younger to me, and I met her in the library way back in 1968, and there it was. And that's how it started in Penang itself, yes.
Right. She works with your law firm, right? Or she's part of this big family business?
Well, she in fact is, she manages my 3 offices, of which, of course, 4 of the lawyers are her own children. So I think that makes it easier for her, from mother on to manager of, the firm.
That is amazing. What do you think was the most, was there a particular incident that you said, this lady really, really supports me?
Well, my detention, for example, I think it was not easy for her to sort of manage, my offices while I was under detention, manage, the home, and to make sure that the children, sort of got on to what they had to under those circumstances, which they did. In fact, I think all my children took that up as a challenge, and I think that's one reason why 4 of them have taken on to law.
Mr. Singh, we're going to take another short break. We'll talk more about your personal life. When we come back, Talk Asia will be right back with Malaysian lawyer Karpal Singh.
We will stand by our own right.
This is Talk Asia. We're talking with Malaysian attorney and opposition politician Karpal Singh. He knows the law and he's not afraid to use it, even in some very difficult cases like the defense of ex-Deputy Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. Mr. Singh, we've talked about you into politics, we've talked about your profession now, but what drove you into taking up law anyway?
Well, my father actually wanted me to be a doctor. And but I felt that the best profession would be and had to be law, which I took up.
But your parents, I presume, are not in the law profession.
Certainly, they were not, yes. I took it up as a challenge, and I somehow or other felt that was the right profession for me, and I think I made the right choice.
Oh, what were the early days like when you were, reading law in Singapore and the bar in Penang?
Well, in Singapore, of course, I was involved quite a bit in student politics and so forth. And, of course, when I came back to Penang and then got admitted to the bar, and later on to the bar of Singapore itself in 1981. Well, a lot of luck in it, because I managed to get some good cases, and that is what propelled me on to other cases, and ultimately to what I'm getting now.
Would you consider yourself idealistic?
Yes, as one has to be idealistic, I think, to achieve what one aims for, and I am idealistic. I think one has to be.
Your children, we were talking about them. 4 of the children are working with you in your law firm. What do you think you have taught them, aside from what they can learn in law school or from books, from textbooks?
Well, I think they have seen me. I think one, running my law firm, to being in politics and the manner in which I've been able to take it, and I think they were not forced into law, all of them. In fact, it was out of their own choice. And I think they come after me because of the commitment to the law, for one. I'm more of a lawyer than a politician, I must make it very clear. And the cases which come up, the manner in which to go about your work and so forth, I think that impressed them probably. The dedication, which one has to have towards it, which I've managed to sort of give it. I think that is what prompted them to follow in my footsteps.
Is there anything you impress upon them? In order to be good lawyers, they should do or they should follow whatever. Is there something that you impress upon them?
Well, go by your conscience and go by your commitment. Do the best you can for your client. Whether you win or not is not the point. You put in your best. As long as your conscience is clear that you gave of your best, I think that is what counts.
In terms of your own personal qualities, what do you think you bring into a courtroom? I mean, people love you.
Not very many.
They do.
Right.
I mean, what do you think you bring to the courtroom?
Well, matter of principles, I think that is what counts. When you go into a court, I think what you got to have is your reputation, for one. I think judges go by it. It's not the case itself, for which you are in front of them.
So it's not the flair, the drama?
No. What you are and what you have sort of, built up yourself to be and so forth.
When you reflect back, has it all been worth it?
Of course, it has been worth it. And if I were to start again, I would start again from where I, in fact, started, way back. Yes.
No regrets?
No regrets at all. And I'm happy that my children are sort of taking up the law profession.
Any cases, in your opinion, were the toughest that you had?
Well, the toughest would have been, had the case gone on, my own sedition trial. In fact, I was charged for sedition as a result of what I said in court in the defense of Anwar Ibrahim. On the 9th of September 1999, I was told by Anwar Ibrahim that he felt that he was being poisoned as a result of analysis of his urine, which he obtained from Australia. And the report reflected that the content of arsenic in his urine or in his blood was 77 times more than normal. And I'm a lawyer. To me, even had it been double, there was cause for alarm. This was 77 times more. He asked me to do something about it, which I did the next morning. I made an application that he be sent to hospital immediately, which was done. And in the course of the application, I did say that I suspect, some people up there would want to get rid of him, even to the extent of murder,
And you got in trouble for that?
And I got into trouble for that. And that was the first case, I think, in the world where a lawyer has been charged for sedition, for carrying out his duties in the course of the defense of a client. Now, as a result of that charge, the law societies of the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, and even the Japanese Federation of Lawyers, they came to my assistance. In fact, they put up very strong and impassioned pleas that the charge ought to be withdrawn. And after a lapse of nearly 2.5 years, the government did, out of international pressure, withdraw the charge. And that was done on the 14th of January this year.
This year, right. Mr. Singh, on a more personal note again, when you're not in court, what are you doing? How do you spend your time, your free time?
Actually, a lawyer has no free time, because all the time you are thinking of the next case or the case you are involved in. And, well, you just have to take it as it comes.
So you have no hobbies? You don't Like reading or traveling?
So I read a lot. Of course, most of it is the legal textbooks
Oh,
and
dear.
so forth. Yes.
Now, you are getting on in life.
Right.
When is it time to call it quits? When will you hand over the baton to, I don't know, maybe one of your children?
I don't think the question of handing over the baton arises actually because a good lawyer dies in the saddle. And I think that will be what it will be as far as I'm concerned.
Keep going and
Keep going, yes. I think a lawyer has to keep going. And he has been, sort of on the field all his life. Suddenly to sort of give it up, I think it will be traumatic. And I have to go on until I can, physically and mentally go on.
Well, Mr. Singh, we wish you luck. Thank you very much for
Thank you very
sharing
much.
it with us.
Thank you for
Appreciate
inviting
it.
me.
I've been speaking with Malaysian lawyer Karpal Singh. And that is Talk Asia this week. Our website is cnn.com/TalkAsia. And drop me a note at talkasia@cnn.com. I'm Lorraine Hahn. Let's talk again next week.
And I know what we're.
And there's a magic.
Financial
in that single sound.
We are what we are today.
That's the problem with that.
We do have issues arising out of the
Return for this new century.